You'd think animals trying to attract mates would sound majestic, or at least normal. Wolves howling at the moon, birds singing at dawn, whales calling across the ocean. Well, some of that's accurate, but most animal mating calls sound like someone's dying, a demon screaming, or a drunk person trying to start a lawnmower at 3 a.m. The animal kingdom basically turned reproduction into an embarrassing talent show nobody asked for. Number 1. Capos booming like sabuchifers. The kakapo is a chunky ground parrot from New Zealand that can't fly and might be the worst at attracting mates in the entire bird world. During breeding season, males dig bowl-shaped depressions in the ground and inflate their chest sacs to produce booming sounds that travel up to 3 miles. This boom sounds exactly like someone blowing across a glass bottle mixed with a foghorn, and they do it all night, every night, for up to 4 months straight. A single male can boom over 10,000 times in one night. The sound is so low frequency that females sometimes can't even figure out which direction it's coming from, so they just wander around confused while this guy exhausts himself making fog noises into a dirt bowl. There are only about 200 kakapos left on Earth, and honestly, their mating strategy might explain why. Number 2. Koalas sounding like chainsaws and burps. Koalas look like living stuffed animals, so you'd expect them to make cute sounds. During mating season, male koalas produce bellows that sound like a combination of a chainsaw, someone snoring violently, and a demon burping. The sound comes from a special vocal organ that humans don't have, positioned outside their larynx, which lets them create these impossibly deep roars despite weighing maybe 30 pounds. A male koala's mating call measures around 27 hertz, lower than what most mammals their size should be physically capable of producing. They make this horrifying sound while sitting in trees, often for hours, basically announcing to every female in the area that they're available and also possibly possessed. Female koalas respond to deeper bellows because it signals a larger male. So evolution basically rewarded the ones that sound most like malfunctioning construction equipment. Number 3. Peacocks screaming help. Peacocks have those famous elaborate tail displays with all the eye spots and iridescent colors, so their mating call should match that elegance. Instead, peacocks scream. They literally sound like someone yelling help in the most dramatic, piercing way possible. The call is technically described as a high-pitched squawk or scream, and they do it constantly during mating season, starting before dawn and continuing throughout the day. Peafowl screams can reach 115 decibels, which is about as loud as a chainsaw or a rock concert. People who live near wild peacocks consistently report thinking someone's being murdered when they first hear mating calls. The females choose mates based on tail quality, head crest size, and display behavior, so the screaming is almost optional. But males do it anyway, because apparently looking pretty isn't embarrassing enough. Number 4. Coquet frogs never shutting up. The coqui frog from Puerto Rico is tiny, usually less than 2 inches long, but produces mating calls that reach 90 to 100 decibels from just 3 feet away. That's louder than a lawnmower or a motorcycle. The males call all night, every night, year-round, making a 2-note coqui sound thousands of times without stopping. In areas where coqui frogs have become invasive, like Hawaii, the noise is so intense that property values actually drop and people can't sleep. One male can call over 1,000 times per hour. The co part warns other males to stay away, and the key part attracts females, so they're basically screaming threats and pickup lines simultaneously all night long. Researchers measured a chorus of coqui frogs at 70 decibels from 100 feet away, which means if you're anywhere near them, you're not sleeping. Number 5. Red deer roaring themselves hoarse. Male red deer, also called stags, roar during mating season to establish dominance and attract females. This isn't a dignified sound. It's a deep, guttural bellow that sounds like a cow and a lion had a baby that's extremely angry. During the rut, which lasts about 6 weeks, dominant stags roar up to 3,000 times per day. They roar so much they can't eat properly and lose up to 20% of their body weight just from screaming and fighting. The roaring is so physically demanding that it actually damages their throat and vocal cords. Researchers found that stags with deeper, longer roars have higher reproductive success. So, evolution is literally rewarding the ones that destroy their own throats the most enthusiastically. Females evaluate males based on roaring, frequency, and pitch, which means the ladies are standing there judging vocal performances while the guys bellow themselves into exhaustion and starvation. Number 6. Foxes screaming like murder victims. If you've never heard a fox mating call, it sounds exactly like a woman or child screaming in terror. People call the police, constantly thinking they're hearing someone being attacked. The vixen's scream is the most disturbing, a high-pitched shriek that she uses to attract males and signal she's ready to mate. Male foxes make a similar screaming sound, plus a creepy stuttering bark. Both sexes scream primarily during winter mating season, usually at night, which makes it even more horror movie. The scream can carry over a mile in quiet conditions. Fox experts describe the sound as blood-curdling and disturbing even when you know what it is. There are entire forum threads of people describing their panic upon hearing fox mating calls for the first time, thinking someone's dying in their backyard. The foxes are just trying to reproduce, but they chose to do it by impersonating a slasher film soundtrack. Number 7. Walruses belching and bell-ringing underwater. Male walruses produce underwater mating calls that involve bell-like sounds, clicks, whistles, and what can only be described as loud belches. They make these sounds in complex sequences that can several minutes, broadcasting to females while floating in the water. The bell sound comes from air sacs in their throat and sounds sort of like someone tapping a metal pipe underwater. Pacific walrus males have been recorded making calls continuously for up to 48 hours without stopping. They pulse their throat sacs in and out while calling, creating visual and audio signals simultaneously. The belching sounds, technically called pulses, can be heard both underwater and in the air. Female walruses apparently find this attractive enough to mate with whoever has the most elaborate belch-bell-click combination. Males who call more frequently and with more complex patterns get more mating opportunities. So the walrus dating scene basically rewards the guy doing the longest, weirdest underwater beatboxing routine. Number 8. Lynx screaming in the woods. Lynx mating calls sound like a woman or baby screaming, similar to foxes but somehow worse. The sound is described as a horrifying shriek or wail that echoes through forests during late winter breeding season. Both males and females vocalize, creating these spine-tingling screams to find each other across their large territories. A lynx scream can be heard over a mile away in good conditions. People who live in lynx territory regularly report feeling genuine fear when they hear the calls, even after learning what makes them. Wildlife biologists who study lynx admit the sound is unsettling even when expected. The cats are solitary most of the year and only come together to breed, so they need calls that carry long distances. But evolution could have picked literally any other sound besides demon child lost in the woods. The screaming usually happens at night, because of course it does. Number 9. Ostriches booming and hissing. Male ostriches produce mating calls by inflating their necks and releasing a boom that sounds like a lion's roar mixed with someone hitting a bass drum. The boom comes from air forced through their esophagus and can be heard from over a mile away. They also hiss aggressively during courtship displays while dancing and spreading their wings. The combination of booming, hissing, and the male's bizarre courtship dance, where they drop to the ground and wave their wings, makes the whole performance look and sound ridiculous. The boom itself registers around 40 to 60 hertz, a very low frequency that can vibrate your chest if you're close enough. Females select mates based partly on boom quality, so the guys with the impressive guttural drumming sounds get to reproduce. During breeding season, dominant males boom repeatedly throughout the day and night, essentially turning the savanna into a poorly tuned orchestra of giant bird noises. Number 10. Barn owls screeching instead of hooting. Everyone expects owls to hoot, but barn owls didn't get that memo. They produce a blood-curdling screech that sounds like nails on a chalkboard mixed with someone dying. This screech serves multiple purposes, including territory defense and mating communication. Both males and females screech, though males also make a shrill 2-second call during courtship. The screech can last up to 2 seconds and is loud enough to hear from over half a mile away. Before people understood what made the sound, barn owl calls in old buildings and barns contributed to ghost stories and haunted house legends. The owls hunt silently but communicate like they're auditioning for a horror movie. Young barn owls also make a raspy hissing sound when begging for food, so an entire barn owl family basically sounds like a haunted house attraction. Females respond to male screeches by screeching back, which is apparently how barn owl romance works. Number 11. Alligators bellowing from their chest. Male alligators make a mating call called a bellow that sounds like a deep rumbling roar combined with underwater thunder. They produce the sound by sucking air into their lungs and blasting it out while mostly submerged, which makes the water on their back dance and vibrate. This is called the water dance, and it happens because the bellow creates such low-frequency vibrations that the water literally bounces off their body. A male alligator's bellow contains infrasound below 20 Hz that humans can't hear but can feel as vibrations. The audible part can reach 90 decibels and travel over 150 yards. During mating season, males bellow repeatedly to attract females and warn other males away from their territory. The bellowing is so physically intense that you can see their whole body inflate and their throat vibrate. Females bellow too, but less frequently and not as loudly. Nothing says romance like lying in a swamp and roaring so hard you make the water jump. Number 12. Donkeys and zebras braying into the void. Donkeys produce one of the most recognizable and embarrassing animal sounds with their hee-haw bray. The sound starts as a rough inhale that sounds like hee, and ends with a harsh exhale that sounds like haw, and it's aggressively loud and prolonged. A donkey's bray can reach 90 syllables and carry for up to 2 miles in open country. They bray for multiple reasons, including mating calls, distress, loneliness, and just general announcing of their existence. Male donkeys bray more frequently during breeding season, basically screaming their availability across the countryside. Zebras, which are related to donkeys, make a similar but somehow worse sound that's more like a high-pitched barking mixed with whinnying. A zebra's call sounds like a squeaky door hinge having a breakdown. Both donkeys and zebras apparently decided that sounding ridiculous was an acceptable price for effective long-distance communication. Female donkeys and zebras respond to these calls, so it works, but it doesn't make the sounds any less mortifying. Animal mating calls basically prove that when you're trying to reproduce, dignity is optional. These creatures scream, boom, belch, shriek, and bellow with the kind of desperation that makes human pickup lines look smooth by comparison. Nature didn't optimize for pleasant sounds. It optimized for sounds that carry far, signal health and dominance, and get the job done, regardless of how embarrassing they sound to anyone listening. As always, I love you guys.